Hello and welcome to episode 4 of the Something in the Hills podcast. Today we're discussing the changing world of college recruiting, the transfer portal, and tampering. We'll begin by sharing our own experiences and opinions on the topics from this week, and later we'll welcome a member of the Clemson women's basketball team, Demeara Hinds, and we'll start by introducing our hosts. My name is Matt Smith. I'm a junior marketing major here at Clemson, and I'm a student manager for the Clemson football team.
My name is Gracie Klein. I'm a senior marketing major here at Clemson.
My name is Michael Reilly. I'm a freshman finance major here at Clemson.
I'm Rusne Augustinaite. I'm a junior. I'm in a communications major here at Clemson. I'm playing basketball.
And I'm Ace Buckner, and I'm a sophomore here at Clemson and a sports communication major. And I just want to pass it on to Gracie to give us a rundown of what we'll cover today.
Okay, so today we'll start off with a big picture look at college recruiting, covering the different aspects of the transfer portal, including tampering and paying athletes. We will each share our own opinions on and experiences with that, and then bring in our guest from the Clemson women's basketball team, Demeara Hinds. We will hear about her experience with recruiting, the transfer portal, and overall experiences in sports. We'll start off with our own discussion on the transfer portal and different aspects of recruiting.
First, we'll talk about the recruiting aspect of college sports, covering NIL, official and unofficial visits, and how recruiting has changed over time. It has changed a lot over the years, and it's unlikely it is likely that it'll keep changing in the future. Matt, we'll start with you. Do you have any initial opinions or experiences with college recruiting?
I think, like you said, with NIL, like that's obviously changing a lot and has changed a lot in the recent years with like the payment of players in recruiting. Um, like I know working for the football team, I've seen it a lot. Working our official visits, like kind of seeing like a lot of guys like, and even just like being on social media, just seeing that guys will like say they love the school, say this is the right fit for them, but then somebody comes and offers them a lot of money. It kind of changes a lot. Um, so I know it's in multiple different sports, obviously football, basketball, across everything really. Um, that's really just what I've seen from it so far.
Yeah, I'll say too. It's and I know it's definitely crazy, and the transfer portal is definitely crazy now, experiencing it firsthand. Um, Especially right after the season when we lost in the tournament, just seeing how everything went down with agents and coaches from other schools trying to hit your peoples, trying to figure out what to do for next season when the season just ended. People, I feels like schools are competing, trying to get to you. It's not like the transfer portal. I don't feel like it's trying to find a home for us. It's trying to find where the most money and best spot is for you for that year, not the next few years. So that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's crazy how like big the Power Four schools have got because they have the most money, obviously. Because I know, like, not to brag at all, but I was recruited a little bit for D3, so there's no money involved there. So it's crazy how much like small schools are like they have a lot less money than like as you keep going up the D2 to D1, then top of D1, it's like a crazy difference.
Going off of what Ace said, people are going, for the money. It's not more about like which college you're going to or its culture. It's everything about financial side and also lack of rules. Like last year, it was really easy to get a lot of money as much as you want. Coaches could have given you millions of dollars even if they could. This year is a little bit different. There's a revenue share, and I think it's better. It's more fair because giving a lot of money, maybe too much money sometimes to college students can be a bad thing. But just saying that lack of rules, it wasn't the best last year.
Yeah, I think building on kind of both of that, like what Mike said with like the smaller schools and with you guys just saying like with the money aspect and kind of just poaching players, like it's kind of made it hard for the mid majors to stay relevant. Like this year, we saw one of the most, um, like they call it like chalk, just like all the high seeds winning during March Madness. That's been like the most this year. Like not a lot of upsets or Cinderella stories. Um, so I think that's made it tough for the mid. I mean, even the lowest seed to like advance is Texas, who's an 11 seed. People are saying is like Cinderella, but even they have probably top 20 highest paid roster in the country. So I think it's just made it hard for the smaller schools to um, compete and like with just paying player. I'm sure I mean, the transfer portal isn't open until tomorrow, and I'm sure all the people that every player, a lot of like a large majority of players have already been reached out to by bigger schools who are wanting to pay them, even though obviously it's not allowed in the rules. But I think the kind of lack of enforcement on the rules has been really what's made it the worst for its transfer portal era and stuff like that.
Yeah, for like the lack of rules, as you said, I think that's the biggest thing that needs to change. Like the NCAA's gotta do something, gotta enforce some rules, place in some rules and like settle down and just like get it under control a little bit. 100%, I think.
Yeah, and kind of going based on that, I think the one thing that does have the rules, like the official and unofficial visits, Ace and Russ, do you guys have any like experiences with you guys going on visits and places? And I guess just your experience or seeing different people's experiences with it.
Yeah. In high school, I went on quite a few unofficial visits, but my only official visit was actually here to Clemson, and just seeing like the different ways people take care of you. Like in on the unofficial visits, obviously they were shorter, and I didn't get the full overnight experience. Get to see all that when I went on those, but just the way different people around campuses treat you, I feel like that was a big part of recruiting for me. Not just the people that are like on the basketball staff or that will be in the facility, but like just random folks that were out and about, like at a football game or at a restaurant or anything. I feel like the love you're shown in a community is really shown during those visits.
Yeah, and me too. I took some, official visits. I think last year I took just one when I was transferring. I mean, that's all I needed to see what Clemson is. Because my freshman year I had three official visits, and all the schools I think they doing. In my case, they've been doing a good job, of representing themselves, but it's always like you already know that they're trying to be super nice,
Yeah.
and when they recruit you, and then of course when you commit, everything most of the times everything changes. But in my case, I had pretty good experience, so I think also from behind the scenes as a player, when you see somebody coming, you can tell the difference which player your coaches want more and how they invest their time and financial side. So it definitely there's some differences of what people want and how they, approach the official visits.
All right, so now that we covered the initial recruiting, we'll be talking more about the transfer portal, which has obviously changed a lot over the course of time and is constantly changing and going to keep changing, we assume. We'll discuss like tampering, number of transfers, and NIL in the transfer portal. Gracie, we'll start with you. Do you have anything like uh, opinions or experiences with anything that you've seen with the transfer portal?
Yeah, so when I think about the transfer portal, I feel like it's just grown so much in the past few years in college sports, and like thinking that it used to just be something that only a few players like could use as an option, but now it just seems like from what I've seen that it's like kind of just part of the process. I mean, I'm from Baltimore, so like a lot of my friends play lacrosse, and I've seen probably half my friends transfer, or even just I've seen people switch just after committing. And obviously, I don't know the reason they choose to do this, but I think just with NIL and obviously there's coaches, playing time, there's so many reasons, but I do think NIL has become a part of it. Just I know it actually was a part of it for one of my friends that committed, then switched right before the year started, and he said it was because of NIL. And just seeing that happen now, it just seems like it's become so much a part of the process and just so regular now and normalized.
Yeah, and I would add that I think there's lack of loyalty, especially right now. I don't know if you guys saw, but today transfer portal opened for women's basketball, and last year I think I don't want to confuse with the numbers, but I know today there's over 1,000 players in the portal, which it's the first day, so it's crazy because I think in total last year was 1,000 players in the portal in the whole time. So it's just crazy how everything moves and people are looking for a school to be just for 1 year and then maybe transfer and get more money. And I think, how it used to be like you go to school, you go to college, you go there for 4 years and you committing to the school, you committing to the culture. And right now, I think there's lack of loyalty and you never know who is doing something behind your back because everybody's just chasing money.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. That is a crazy amount of people. And like speaking on that, like do you or Steven, do you guys think there should be a limit on transferring or any rule changes with it?
I think there definitely needs to be some rules put in place. But obviously the transfer portal is young. I see it as a blessing and a disguise. Having a chance to leave a place that you didn't have the opportunity or you didn't feel like was a spot for you and go to another school, that's a blessing. But how it's been abused the last few years by college athletes, I think that's where the line gets crossed and it's like, okay, this isn't just trying to trying to go find a new situation because where you were at wasn't for you. This is just like, oh, I'm chasing the bread and I'm trying to go to the biggest name school I can. I'm trying to, it's everything is selfish in a way. And it's made it a lot like, well, professional sports, obviously, like overseas basketball, single year contracts, maybe 2 year contracts, and then you're on to the next team.
Yeah, I totally agree with Ace. I think it's being abused a lot, and there definitely needs to be established some type of rules that will have um, flexibility with the financial part. Like, yes, we need to, like, it's good for us to, earn money from that, but in a way that it wouldn't affect our relationships with basketball and the coaches and the people you play with because there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know. So yeah, I think there should definitely be more rules established.
What would you guys change? You think? See, I think I'm not an athlete, so obviously I think your opinions are a lot more valuable with this, but I'd have one free transfer and like if you transfer more than once, then you have to redshirt a year or take a year off.
Ace, do you,
Um,
I don't know.
I think like the old rules was cool, like how it was back in the day to sitting out a year, but it's just so much that goes into transferring for real, at least from the experience that I've had with people around me. Um, that's sitting out a year, it might diminish somebody's whole career. Like if I'm transferring because, it's four guys ahead of me or my coach left, like why should I have to sit out a year and miss out on that year just because my coach got a new job and he was able to leave and I'm not? So I think, there obviously needs to be some rule changes, but that'll come with time. Like I said earlier, the transfer portal is still young, but I don't know any like rules to come up.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I feel like obviously there needs to be like some rule, but even like imagine the guy starts at like a D3 and then he plays really well, transfers to a low D1, and then he plays really well again, and he has the opportunity to transfer to a high D1. Like I don't think he should be punished for um just moving up and like improving himself for that opportunity. But I agree with you at the same time. Like I feel like I mean there's no real like perfect way to do it because if there was it'd already be done. But it's like the guys that are and we saw two guys from Kansas, who's one of the best schools in the country. They're both perfectly fit in the team there. Um, both have a perfect role. They're both gonna be starters next year. They're both probably gonna get paid millions of dollars from Kansas, and they're still going to the portal just to maximize their profits. Which I don't. I mean, I don't blame them at some point, trying to get money because there's really no rule. But um, I feel like there's kind of an issue with people just going after money instead of trying to develop themselves and become better at basketball. So in our textbook, we learned the changing world of sports and how it's constantly advancing. And then this is especially true in college recruiting and the transfer portal. Every day there seems to be a new story about something changing with recruiting, whether it's new decision making, new rules, or like something on social media with recruiting. College recruiting is always in the news.
Now that we shared our own perspectives on the topic, we are excited to be joined by Demeara Hinds. Demeara is a member of Clemson women's basketball team and has experience of transferring schools. So she will share her experiences on our topics and her overall experience in college athletics. We will be back with Demeara Hinds after a short break. Today, we will welcome a special guest, a forward on Clemson women's basketball team, Demeara Hinds.
Thank you for joining us today, Demeara. We'll hand it off to you to introduce yourself and tell us about who you are.
Okay. Hi, I'm Demeara Hinds. I am from Douglasville, Georgia. I was a grad student on the Clemson women's basketball team this year.
Thank you. We'll get a discussion started. So for you, like, what was the recruiting process for you, like, coming out of high school?
Coming out of high school, it was a little different because I didn't play on like any circuit teams or anything like that. So I just played with like a little team that was like from my town. But I was like afforded a bunch of opportunities. And I did end up picking a school that was in the same conference that I'm in now. I went to Wake Forest originally before I came to Clemson. Um, and I mainly decided to go there just for like the education standpoint of everything, just because I am a woman in sports. So I did understand the fact that I needed to have a kind of like a good educational background coming out of basketball so that I could have more opportunities once I'm done playing.
So like education was like your biggest one of your biggest things. Is there anything else that like played into your decision in choosing college?
I also wanted to go away from home, but I didn't want to go too far because like anywhere else would have been like a 12-hour drive or something like that. And I just felt like I wanted to have my distance, but not be too far that like I couldn't reach my family or anything like that. And it was definitely a blessing in disguise because I am a lot older than everybody else. I came in during COVID, and so during that year, I kind of went back and forth home a lot on the weekends just because nobody else was on the road. So I think it made it a lot easier for me to like still have that familial connection while I was going through freshman year.
And like as a transfer, like can you take us through like what the recruiting process was like that and how it was different from your high school recruiting process?
Yeah, so I would say it's a lot different, especially because I was recruited during an age where NIL wasn't a thing, especially on the women's side at least. So like the main like focal points would be education and like the team and everything like that. But this time I felt like that definitely played a bigger part in my recruiting process of like people trying to kind of sell themselves to me a little bit more and like ways of monetary value and everything like that of what I could possibly like gain from going to different institutions. So I think that played a part. And then also the fact of my experience, it kind of allowed me to have even more options, especially like within the ACC, just because all of them have seen me play for the past couple years. So I think it kind of broadened my horizon of what I could possibly do and where I could possibly go.
Gotcha. And would you say you think the high school recruiting process or the transfer portal process was like an easier process for you?
I would definitely say now, like the college recruiting process, just because I've already been through it. So I kind of knew what to expect and how to go through it again. When I was in high school, I would say I was a little bit more impressionable and I like really didn't know what I was doing simply because I started playing basketball like when I was in high school and like I never knew what AAU was until like my coach saw me playing like a high school game one day and he told me all about it. So I think it was a little bit more overwhelming during that time just because I didn't know what was like the best decision for myself. But I think this time around, I was able to make more informed decisions just based off my knowledge.
So what is something that people would not expect about going through the transfer process?
Mm, that's a good question. I feel like there's a lot of things to expect, honestly. I guess sometimes it could be like the way how coaches or players like sell themselves. Sometimes people sell themselves short, sometimes people sell themselves like way too high. And I feel like just like the expectations or like the things that they tell you like on a visit might not always be what happens when you actually get there. So just having that kind of like in the back of your mind a little bit of like okay, even though they're saying all of these things up front, that might not always be the case once I actually like commit to that place, or somewhere else might actually be a better opportunity for me, even though they're not presenting everything up front.
Yeah, I think that idea of, coaches selling a dream has become obviously really big and for high school recruits and transfer recruits. Obviously me and Russ also went through that. But do you think that the transfer portal is more helpful or hurtful overall to athletes?
I would say now with like NIL and everything, I think it's more hurtful. I know it's like a great advantage because it does help, especially with people who aren't in great situations before they come to college, to have that opportunity to kind of like gain a little bit more monetary value based off like their name, image, and likeness and everything. But I will say that it does hurt when it comes to like building a culture and building like a standard within a program. Because I feel like when I was at Wake, I was with the same girls for like all 5 years basically, and they're really like my family at this point. Like they're gonna be there for everything. Like whenever I get married or whenever I have like a baby or anything like that. So I think when it comes to that, of like building something, it hurts. But I think when it pertains to like just on a yearly basis of like what you can offer people and like how far you can go, then I think it's helpful in that aspect.
And what is one thing about Clemson that you think makes it stand out ahead of other schools?
hmm Um, If I'm speaking from like a basketball standpoint, I would say like with Coach Poppy and the staff, they were very helpful for me this year just because I did have a lot of personal things that were going on. Like as soon as I came here, I found out that like my mom had breast cancer, and so that was like a really heavy hit for me. And it did kind of like take a toll on me emotionally and mentally. And so me starting out the year was like a little rocky, but they definitely didn't let up on me and they still treated me the same and everything like that. And they still, it was tough love. And I really appreciated it at the end of the day because I felt like it made me a better player and a better person off the court. And then if I would say from like a school standpoint, I really wasn't on campus that much. So I can't speak too heavily on that just because I was in a grad program that was fully online and I like got a certificate for that. So but I will say like the atmosphere and everything, like at different sporting events like soccer, football, and baseball, like I feel like the community aspect of Clemson is what kind of draws people in just because you feel like you are at home, even if you are far away from home.
The craziest thing that I've from when I got out of that was that you said you started playing basketball in high school. Like I think that's crazy to me. Like how did you start playing in high school and then 4 years later you're a D1 athlete?
So my I guess he was my health coach at the time, or my health teacher was the basketball coach, and he basically saw me and he was like, "You're gonna play basketball," and I was like, "No, I'm not gonna play basketball," because I played soccer growing up. I played soccer since I was like 5 years old, and so I thought that's what I was gonna do for like the rest of my life because that was what my passion was. But then I tried out for basketball, and I actually wasn't bad, so I just kept doing it, and then that's when my AAU coach saw me. And he basically told me and my mom about how there's like more opportunities through basketball than there is like with soccer. Because I didn't know about like partial scholarships and full rides and all of that stuff. I was just playing like for fun or like to get to college, but I didn't understand like the monetary value and like different sports and their opportunities that they provide. So, um, yeah, I feel like he just saw me and he saw the potential that I had. Obviously, it helps that I was already 6'2" in my freshman year. So.
And that makes sense. I mean, obviously, sounds like he made a huge impact on your future. Is there like anyone else that like sticks out that made a big impact on you in your career?
Um, I'll say my AAU coach did as well, but I'll say my mom for the most part. There were definitely a lot of times, especially like during COVID, in my freshman year, I really wasn't playing. And so I felt like that really took a toll on me as well. And with COVID, there was no like campus, like it wasn't very lively just because nobody was there. And so it just felt very isolated. And like the only thing I was doing was basketball and going to class online. And at the time, it was just a very like it was a 180, and I don't think I adjusted all the way my freshman year, and I think that took a toll really badly. So I'll say my mom, just being in my ear and consistently telling me like it'll all be like worth it in the end, which she was completely correct because now I'm here and I've had a great year this year. So yeah.
And kind of going back to like your transfer process, like what advice would you give to someone going through that process? And like, is there anything that you experienced that makes you say that?
Yeah, I would say make sure you like really get to know the coaches that you're gonna like be with or who you're gonna be around. Also possibly asking previous players, like if anybody else is in the transfer portal coming out of there, kind of figuring out why and what happened while they were there. If it was because of like a negative atmosphere or just not a great fit for them, I feel like that's good information to know. Um, and then I would say just looking like at like records and statistics of like for your position, especially how they've been able to like help maybe develop anybody that came before you into their program or anything like that. And then just understanding like the environment of where the campus is at and like is that somewhere where you feel like you'll thrive or like it'll be a downfall for you, whether that's it's not enough in there or it's too much.
Yeah, you mentioned in your time at Wake how those relationships really shaped how you were as a woman and how you'll be in the future. For me that's a big part. I feel like at least with our side of the gym this year, we had a lot of transfers and we had a lot of new guys, and we had to really learn about each other and take this time to figure out how we would be on the court and off the court. And do you feel like transferring really helped you? And then I know y'all had a few transfers on y'all side. Do you think transferring here to Clemson felt like another home for you? Like, did you feel like you found another family that you can call your homegirls?
I would say yes, I did for sure. Obviously, you can't compare like 9 months, 10 months to like 5 years. It's a like really tough comparison with the two groups. But I will say within those like 10 months, I definitely built some good relationships. Um, I'm obviously not the most talkative person or most outgoing, so it was a little bit more difficult for me to build certain relationships with people on the team. But um, I feel like that never was like an issue or anything, or I never had a bad translation on the court. I felt like we always had each other's back. And there was always love with everything that we kind of did. So, um, irregardless of everything, I felt like he brought in really good girls that could get along within that short time frame, and build those good relationships with each other.
And one last thing, I think like Ace and Russ, you guys can touch on this too. Do you guys think it's hard for like Ace especially? You guys only brought back a couple players from last year. You think it's hard to uh like kind of build the locker room and make those connections when you're bringing in so many transfers in and out every year and you're only meeting people for 1 year at a time? Like, do you think it's kind of detrimental to like the locker room, I guess, when you're bringing in so many transfers and people leaving?
I didn't feel that this year, honestly. Maybe around like May, late April last year, it was like, damn, what are we gonna do? We got 10 new players coming in, one returner's hurt, and the two other returners redshirted. So it was really uncharted territory for the whole organization. But I feel like again, coaches brought in a bunch of guys that, were good dudes. We all ended up liking each other, and we spent a lot of time together outside the gym and, obviously inside the gym with workouts and things like that. But it was a real care, you could tell that people cared to learn about you. They cared about like what you was going through on a day-to-day basis, and we wanted to be with each other. So I think it was a really good experience. I'm glad of what we went through this past year. Obviously I feel like those are some of my brothers for life.
Demeara, did you kind of find that same thing? Like when you, I guess, when you were at Wake and bringing in different people, maybe, and then when you came to Clemson, did you find it easy to meet the new people, even when you're just meeting them for 1 year?
Yeah, I would say at Wake, we really didn't bring in any transfers like that. So that wasn't really like too much of a problem. The the two transfers that we did bring in like my last year, they fit in pretty well because it was only two people, so it was kind of easier to integrate. I would say with this year, we were very like intentional of like doing things outside of basketball, especially during the summertime whenever we had more free time, just to make sure that we kind of built those relationships and you can see who you would possibly like be a little bit closer to and who you kind of had some type of kind of like similarities with so that you could kind of build those bonds and those friendships off the court so that it could translate.
Gotcha. All right, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us and share your experiences. And we appreciate you tuning in to Something in the Hills podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Appreciate you, D.